The people. Good afternoon, Richmonders. You are now in the Nexus with your host, Charles Wilson. I am happy to be on air with you all this afternoon because I want to create a sense of urgency right now. There's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know, here in Richmond, we've got a $600 million casino possibly coming here in a few months. We have a public safety building downtown being torn down and rebuilt for $325 million. It's a project with VCU and the Ronald McDonald House. We've got a $2.3 billion Green City commercial project being built in Henrico. And this doesn't even include the hundreds of commercial, residential properties, projects that are happening throughout the city and the region. And quite frankly, we have to be ready for it, especially us within the Black community. We have to be ready for it because if we're not ready, then we can continue to hear the excuse on why we're not being hired and them saying we can't find the talent. And it's true, if we're not skilled in the trades that are required and necessary for these projects to be successful, then we won't be able to compete. They will say they can't find the talent. So right now, the Legacy Builders Apprenticeship Academy, which falls under my umbrella of CW Consulting Group, we're currently recruiting for our upcoming HVAC cohort. We're going to host this inside our second facility at 2500 Turner Road in North Chesterfield. And that's going to start in mid to late July. And we are currently looking to ensure that we have 10 people from the community who fill those seats and get the credentials that they'll have after about a 15 or 16 week period. You know, they'll come out with their OSHA 30 certification. There'll be a level 1 HVAC technician. And we're going to do this in the evening from Monday through Friday, and it'll be free. This is in addition to our current recruitment for our electrical cohort that will have simultaneously occurring during the day, Monday through Friday, same period of time, with again, people coming out with a level 1 electrical credential, OSHA 30. And at the end of both of these, first of all, they're free. They're going to be free for the community. But at the end of both of these, we're going to place people in full-time careers and jobs with these commercial construction companies that are around the city and the region. So if you have someone that you think is interested, again, this is free for the people. Call at 773-332-9387. That is my direct phone number, 773-332-9387, or email me at charles@CW Consulting Group. That's 2 G's, CW Consulting Group, charles@cwconsultinggroup.com. You know, we currently have a residential and a commercial carpentry cohort running right now within the city. And I'm proud to say we have 2 women out of the group that we have, and we're going to directly pipeline them to some jobs, some careers that'll be waiting for them on the other end of that. So again, they'll be graduating in August, and I want you, if you have the interest in learning the skilled trades or know someone who is, contact me directly at 773-332-9387. Today, I have a treat for all of you. I know it's a treat for me. We have, I will say, my most special guest I'll ever have on my show. She's been a partner in love, not a partner in crime, but in love, and a steady hand as we do the work of and for the people. She is the embodiment of what our topic for today is, which is moving in now faith and the power of visualization. She is an accomplished Black woman with her Bachelor's of Science in Finance. She has a master's in human performance and training. And this bad sister also has her executive MBA from Rutgers University. This is a bad queen, also originally from Chicago, but now calls this great city of Richmond home. Her name is Mrs. LaMeisha Taylor because she was a tailor first. And that's a shout out to our cousin Shanine. But she is now my wife and my best friend, Miss LaMeisha Wilson. So I want to welcome you to the show today, my dear.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Hello, Richmond.
Okay. And they're so happy to have you. I'm certain of it. I want to basically pick up from last week's discussion. As you know, our neighbor and friend, Dr. Julian Hayter, who's an associate professor at the University of Richmond in leadership studies, we basically gave a proposition, especially to those of us as Black people, that we don't have the luxury of being average. Mm-hmm. We discussed the steps people need to take in order to set a bar that aims above being average. We challenged people with the first thing, which is to set a specific set of goals. They need to be specific. And when I share that, I don't mean setting goals that are the feelings of when you accomplish the goal. I mean, I just want to be happy. I just want to feel joy. I want to feel love. These things come as a result of having accomplished those goals. Mm-hmm. So with that, I mean, be specific with what you want to accomplish. I will write this book by August, right? I will acquire my driver's license by December. I will run the Boston Marathon in 2022. And when you do that, what we find is the map, in order for you to do that, reveals itself. It opens itself up. And at that point, you have a choice to make. Mm-hmm. And are you going to take the steps and make the decisions that are necessary in order for you to accomplish that specific goal? We also encourage all of you to focus on the details. Don't attempt to hit the fast forward button on the details, which create both the experience and the foundation for you knowing that you earned the right to experience those feelings that come with accomplishing the goal. And you can start that right now. And what we talked about last week was the lens by which we look at the things that are around us. Sometimes people believe that they need to look somewhere else, or that they don't have what it takes in order to accomplish whatever it is. And it's sometimes really just a matter of perspective and looking at things differently. And so we want people to change their lens and look and see that you already have all that you need in order to accomplish that goal. And then lastly, LaMeisha, we talked about gratitude. And when you get that goal accomplished, instead of looking past it, it's always great to have something beyond the goal that you have set. But at that moment of accomplishment, look at the journey. Look how far you've come. Look at all you've endured and overcome in order to be there, and have that sense of gratitude and that gratefulness for the fact that you made it, that you've done it, and all the people along the way that may have helped you. That's what we're telling people specifically in this process of action and doing that they should do in that process. So I want to circle back now to you, back to this discussion and the topic for the day, when I speak about this now faith.
Yes.
And when we talk about, the art and the skill of visualization for you, what fueled your faith and allowed you to exercise your power of visualization to where you have journeyed from being that girl from the South Side of Chicago to the accomplished example of excellence that we see today?
I say a few things, and I'm so excited about this topic because it has just been a mantra for my life. So I'd like to start out with just sharing just my father, and just growing up having this example of a man that, he still is my hero. He was a math teacher in Chicago public schools. Then he became a Chicago police officer. And then I saw him study, during law school. He was one of the few African Americans at John Marshall Law School, downtown Chicago. So here we are, this middle-class family, on the South Side of Chicago. And I have this representation of what faith and action looks like. And it was just my father who instilled in me, just from when I was a little girl, that anything is possible. And he stirred up faith and dreams and accomplishments, like you really can do anything that you set your mind to. And so, it was, again, my mother and my father who, allowed me to study abroad, when I was 10 years old, and have a global view, be able to study in Paris and be a part of a French exchange program. And then it was, again, my father, this math teacher, who would have me in the summertime. I mean, we would do math problems for the next grade. I actually did not think that children should be doing homework in the summertime. So I was doing my sister's homework. They were like two grades ahead of me, but he was grooming me and preparing me because he saw something great in me. And
that's Pops. That's
yes,
Pops Daryl. That's my guy. That's my guy. I know that's my dude.
You guys remind me so much of each other.
You said that before. Yeah.
And, it was just how my father even looks at me today, like every single accomplishment, he's just like right there, like you can do more. So I'd say that was the first thing, just the foundation of just seeing him accomplish things just as an African-American male growing up in Chicago, and he would set a goal and then he'd accomplish it. And I just knew that if he could do it, then I could do it too. And he always celebrated me. The second thing I would say, when I got into college, it was a really tough time in the very beginning, but it was my faith in God and just growing in that relationship that opened my eyes even more to truly the possibilities. And it was in that space where I knew that I wanted to just go beyond having goals and dreams, but I wanted to leave a legacy. And I just remember flipping through, it was two vivid memories. I remember flipping through like the Jet and Ebony magazine, and they would have like these really successful Black people and like all, their schooling and their jobs. And
yes, to Jet and Ebony.
Right.
I mean, it was even accessible for us to see these images. And I love what you're talking about.
Yes.
If you could just, I want you to continue, but it really does matter, these examples. When you're able to take the top or the cap off of what's possible, it typically comes because of access to people.
Yes,
exposure. To images,
exposure. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
That was a big deal. And I also remember, so it was that image of like flipping through the magazines and seeing like, wow, they got their BA and their MBA and they did this and they accomplished that. And all these people were working for these tech companies. And then I just remember, working downtown Chicago in high school and seeing these women with the socks and the gym shoes,
What was that high school again?
Limblom.
Limblom. Okay. All right. Go ahead. That's right.
So, being like traveling an hour going to Limblom and then, going to work, it was just really interesting because I just remember seeing these business women with these gym shoes and these socks and these gym shoes just walking really fast downtown Chicago from the train and back and forth to the train. And I'm like, wow, I want to be one of those women, these really successful Black women. So I think that it's so important for young people to be able to see examples. And I know that that's pretty much what we're trying to do here, even in Richmond, is for them to know that you can, like where we started, you're starting, and you can really do whatever you set your mind to. The last thing I would say would be being exposed to dreamers and achievers, not just people who have these, really great dreams, but never do anything with them.
The action.
Yes, it's really about the action. And I was around people that started building businesses and they would travel all over the world. And if they had that marathon goal, they would actually accomplish it. And it just stirred something in me that said, you know what? With the life that we're given, we can do so much with it. And I didn't want to waste it. And I'm sure you've heard that quote because you and I talk about it, is that when I die, I want to die empty. And that's just been something that has just been pressing in my spirit, is that all that I've been given, I want to be able to pour it out to the world. And I know we've all been given something special. It just looks different.
That's actually a beautiful thing that you're speaking to. And one of the things I think I admire most with you is just watching the maturation of both your faith and actions, even in the time that we've been together, known each other. And we got to understand, we go way back. We go back to literally freshman year of high school, where we were not the fondest of one another.
We were.
But to find ourselves at this point, it really says something about moving in purpose and having faith that your steps are ordered, that the
Absolutely.
moves that you're making, when you listen to that voice, when you're tuned in to taking the steps that you're supposed to take and in your purpose, there's an alignment that takes place that you cannot see at times.
Can't.
But each step,
Mm-hmm.
all provisions that you'll need will be there if you move in that faith.
Yes.
So I even want, if you could, to speak to one of the examples that I know you can speak about regarding the faith in just the movement here. You know, we got
Oh,
married
yes.
in November on November 30th, 2019. I know you were in New Jersey for 7 years and
Mm-hmm.
working remotely. So this was really nothing new to you when we made it down here. But you had real plans. You had big plans for what was going to happen in that next phase of your life. How did faith and the visualization of what life could be for you, how did that play a role in the decision you made for us to come and pour ourselves into the city and create the school that we have right now?
That's an excellent question, because I was so excited to move back home to Chicago, to have my brunch buddies and my workout buddies and to be with my family. And, when it was time, well, 2 months into living in Chicago and, the opportunity opened up in Richmond, it's like, wait, I haven't even seen everybody. I just got home. But I just felt, one, I trusted you, and just the fact of how you move and how you're led. So that was comforting to say, okay, all right, let me get in now. Let me get in the spirit. And I
Mm,
just felt like we were being led to Richmond, and that I didn't know what all that looked like or what was on the other side of it, but I knew that there was a space for us. So coming here and really seeing like this is truly a land of opportunity, even in COVID. And to be honest, it was really your faith in this situation. I mean, your faith that said, all right, I see, it's like I see Canaan in Richmond.
wow.
And that did something for me on the inside, because I felt like at that point that I had gotten a little stagnant in my faith. I hadn't really been activating it. And I was really staying in a safe space.
Right.
But you helped to shake me up a little bit. And when I saw you like work things and follow through, and I saw doors just sling wide open for you, I just knew that God was in the midst of us,
Yeah.
and that we had to do something with what we were given. Like, I always think about what is in your hands.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've always admired about you, that you're a doer. I mean, you don't just talk about it, you will talk about it, but then you do, and you do what you say.
Okay. I, you have no idea how much that fueled and motivated me in stepping out in that faith. It's something, there's a song, some of you all may or may not know this artist named Neo and Fabulous. They got the song where the chorus basically goes, I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together. And you literally created a force. There's something about being in harmony and in alignment with a partner who believes and will, even without seeing everything, will believe and move forward. And I want to transition that. I just want to talk about this thing because what it
Mm-hmm.
exemplifies is something as we even think about scripture. There's a verse in Hebrews, and it's Paul's definition,
Mm-hmm.
and why I titled this Now Faith. Now some people say, or they change it up and say, well, now faith. I say now faith,
Mm-hmm.
that faith of right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not
Yes.
seen. That's a major, major scripture and explanation of what now faith is.
Mm-hmm.
It is a necessity for you to continue to move without knowing how the tape is going to play itself out. Faith to me is literally the polar opposite of fear. The polar opposite of fear. It's not to say, and I shared this last week's show, that fear is present.
It is.
It's present. No one's saying it's not present, but what do you do with it?
You do it afraid. You keep moving forward. And when you do that, it's like you connect with the opportunities on the other side. And I feel like when we don't do that, and when we are stagnant, like I told you that what I felt like I was, then we miss out on what could be. And I just feel like, and I'm not saying that it's an easy thing to do, but I know that when we like do one step at a time, then our faith gets strengthened,
Mm,
and then we'll be strengthened to even do greater things. But if we don't start,
mm.
because everybody's in a different space,
They are.
they may not move to Richmond, but what can you do in your own community?
And when you open that door up, you don't, what it does is it fuels the potential within you, the potential within you. And that's when you think of even, I'm a nerd. Potential energy is about levels.
Mm-hmm.
It's about moving from one level to another. When
Yes.
you unlock that potential energy, you've allowed yourself to ascend. You've allowed, again, you hear me say this all the time, take the cap off,
Mm-hmm.
take the limits off what's possible. And faith allows that. And now with that said, it's not just faith by itself, right? Because I'm gonna go ahead and read this. Again, I'm gonna go back to the Bible and I'm gonna read parts of James 2 and a few verses 14, 17, 18, 26, some of these. And I'm going to just read this because it's so important, in my opinion. Again, when we start talking about doing, action radio, do, that you have an understanding on why that's so important. What does it profit, my brethren, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can faith save him?
Mm-hmm.
Thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. And how, didn't tell you how I take this, Misha. Don't just talk about it, be about it.
Yes.
Don't just talk about it, be about it. Your actions, your outcomes, people, I've even heard Jay-Z say, ask about me. You
Mm-hmm.
should have a body of work that shows people your belief in that which you know is for you and that you're supposed to do with the gifts that you have.
Absolutely. And I feel like even for the people listening right now, or maybe it's the grandmother or the mother, I mean, I just want to say to you that, encourage your son, your daughter, your granddaughter, your grandson, cousins, to really take a look at our school, because we've already seen lives, be transformed. And our goal is to really drive home economic empowerment. And it's one thing to say, I want to have a better life, but it's another thing to pick up the phone and actually enroll in the classes, to not only have the skill trade, but also to have life skills,
The life piece is so important. Yeah. And that's again, looking at what you have, the inventory of what you have, those gifts that you are supposed to give to the world, and not only for the world, but for, like you said earlier, the legacy, the people
Yes.
behind you. It's that idea of being a muse, I think, is understated.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about this last week in having a duty, which is when you think back to the story you just shared about yourself, you had people in front of you. Either you went to them and you saw them,
Mm-hmm.
or some brought it home. Your father was right there. He was
Yes.
right there to be that person to show you that this is what's possible, right? And so I say, and I charge to
Mm-hmm.
all of you out there, to all of us who are in positions and that's why I said before, I called us snitches. Be a snitch. Be a snitch. You got to tell our people what's out there, and to
Yes.
hoard that information is rather selfish. It's almost, I see it as you hiding your talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like you hiding your talent. You're supposed to share that with people, and I feel as though that not enough of us do that, because there's this thing about wanting to have it to yourself. You don't want to disrupt it. You want to play it safe. And I think that that's a major mistake when you're already dealing with people who don't have enough examples of people who are doing these things and showing it. I want to
Absolutely.
I want to shift even again, as we start talking about actionable steps, I want to read something. I wrote a book, and you were right there in me writing this book in 2019. It took about 2 weeks, and I just poured myself into this book that was dedicated to my children and to others whose children or young people who may not have examples or people that they can go to and get that
Mm-hmm.
guidance and knowledge. I wrote it. It's called, Love Letter, Pocket Guide to Values. And there's this one, the first chapter I start off with after the initial is, there's no one better at being you. You're the best. And in the last paragraph, I said, you are the best at what you do. How can anyone be a better you, when there is no other person like you? So by default, you are the best, right? Live like it. Whatever you invest your time and talent in, be your best. And so I want to leave you all with these couple of questions as we think about that faith component. Are you proud of the effort you put into your work, your assignment, or your
Mm-hmm.
purpose? Can you look in the mirror and say, I am proud of how I have looked at my talents, my skills, and
Mm-hmm.
stepped out and used those things in that faith, right? And the other one is, have you allowed someone else to define you?
Mm-hmm.
Have you allowed someone else and what they want to project as their own limitations, or even looking at you and saying, here's what you're limited to? Are you going to allow them to define what's possible for you? And I say that because in order to have faith, for me at least, you need to have value. You have to
Mm-hmm.
see yourself as being worth giving yourself a chance. You know, how
Absolutely.
about you? Do you value yourself, LaMeisha?
Mm-hmm.
Has that been something that has driven you to say, I deserve this and I should have more?
Absolutely. And I would say that that was put into me just as a young girl, as you say, on the south side of Chicago, to know that there's something special about me. And I feel like there's something that's special about whoever's listening or whoever this is shared with. There is room for you
Mm.
in this world. There is room for all of us. And there's enough to go around for us to really live our best lives and to be our best selves. So, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd really, and as we close out, I want to give you, with all that said, Charles's definition of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, faith is moving in anticipation of, with an expectation that whatever it is that you have put in your mind, that with your movements that it is going to come to you.
Mm-hmm.
Having that type of expectation and anticipation for me is how you will prepare yourself to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so lay out the budget, drive around and look at the buildings or the space, set up the room for where that couch is going to sit, try on that dress, right? Look up the colors for what that car is going to come in, because you're preparing yourself. Pick out the stitchings for the seats that are going to be there. Work that faith. That is my action item for you. Work that faith. So I want to thank you again, Mrs. Wilson, again, for making me a better man, and for me to see how important it is to continue to move in that faith and be a muse and be an example, not only to the people, but in my own household. And I appreciate you allowing me to have that type of influence on what you do and even in your own life.
This has been an incredible opportunity, and you continue to inspire me to finish my projects. He didn't shout me out, guys, about this book project I've been working on for a while, but I see you moving and acting and accomplishing, and that does something for
Yeah.
me. So I think it's so important to have a partner like that.
Okay.
You write the vision, you make it plain, and you move on it.
That's right. And we are each other's accountability partners. Okay. So with that said, Richmond, again, I want you to do, I want you to do. Until next week, we are looking forward to talking with you again. Have a wonderful week, and we're signing off.
All right.